So when you're at the truck stop,
Oh yeah, there's a story in there.
okay,
Yeah,
there's a truck stop and it's a badass truck stop and it's like every in your mind, you're with your dad, Bernie, right?
yeah,
And you're thinking, they're just thinking, um, Yankee Jew, Yankee
yeah,
Jew, Yankee
yeah.
Jew.
My dad
And
and I were driving south from up north to Florida, and we stopped in a truck stop in Georgia for breakfast or just for coffee. And we were having an argument, big argument. And I got so fed up with him that and when we walked in, we were the only non tattooed, bearded, muscled up, scary guys.
well, you mentioned that something about your entrees too, but what were your entrees that might have?
Well, we just ordered coffee, as I recall,
Oh,
but
okay.
but we were arguing, and I just said to him, you know what? I don't want to talk anymore. And we're let me just say we're surrounded by these truckers and bikers and tough guys. I
Yeah.
imagine all these guys are thinking Yankee Jew, Yankee Jews, about us. But we're continuing to argue. And finally I said, you know what, Dad, I'm done arguing. No
Right.
talking. So I got bored not talking, sitting there. So I went to get a magazine or a newspaper in the newsstand that was connected to the restaurant of the truck stop. And when I walk over, I remember there were no newspapers, no magazines. And I said to the lady working there, you don't have any newspapers or magazines? And she said, nope. Our distributor said we had to sell porno magazines, and I'm a God fearing woman. And so I won't sell that smut, and they said, well, you won't sell Playboy and Penthouse, and you can't sell anything. We're not giving you newspapers or magazines. She said, fine. So I said, so you don't sell anything to read? And she said, well, we got that. And she pointed, and there was a little metal rack, that
Okay, wait,
turns.
wait. I'm gonna
Paperbacks.
stop you. So you get
Yeah.
two paperbacks, but this is the thing. This is like a little sleight of hand, kind of like
Yeah.
insider. It's like one of them is a Sharon Tate book.
You
It's
noticed
like,
that.
and I
Yeah.
wonder,
Yeah, that's my first novel.
and
Yep.
by the
And the
time it
second
came
book I
out,
bought is a collection of one sentence stories, isn't it?
right?
Yeah. So that was my little metafictional thing where the two books I bought were my own books that I don't
The
identify
future,
as mine. Yeah, it
right?
was just a fun
But
thing to
but
do.
wait, now your father's reaction is he
Well,
throws
wait,
it,
I brought the book back and I put the book in front of him,
right?
and he said, now by now we had our coffee, and I come back and I have one of the books. And in reality, I forgot what books they were. It was like a Stephen King novel and a sports book,
Whatever.
whatever it really was. In my novel here, I make it my own two books. But when I put, say, the Stephen King novel in front of him, and I said, okay, Dad, and he looked at the book and he said, what is this? And I said, we're not talking. We're just going to read and not talk. So read your book, and that's it. So he picked up the book I'd handed him and flung it over his shoulder, and it flew through the air and landed on the table of one of these badass biker or trucker guys, and it like went right in the guy's food. It was an incredible
No, you lived
direct hit.
out. You lived out. What happened? What happened
Well,
next?
yeah, so I begin or I end that story by saying that I got up knowing I was
Right,
probably going to get every bone in my body broken, and
right,
I begin the long walk
right.
to the trucker's table, knowing that my profuse apologies were not going to save me from an ass kicking. Luckily, I have a guardian angel. That's a true story. I ended the story there because I just thought it was cool to end it with that kind of cliffhanger, you
Yeah.
know. In reality, it's an anticlimax. I went over apologizing, saying, "Can I buy you, a drink, or can I buy you?" And the guy just glared at me and it's like, "Get the fuck out of here. Take your fucking book," you know. So he didn't. There was no ass kicking that
Right.
ensued. And I took the book back and sat down, and now I really just wanted to leave.
Your book, there's just so much because there's so many things. It's so visual, and I know a lot of the people, or I've heard a lot about a lot of the people, and even I can take the metaphors. And I wanted to ask you, so um, uh, Berta uh, is, am I
My
getting,
wife, yeah,
yes, I'm getting the name right.
yeah.
I love the way, the metaphor of how you met. And I think I wanted to ask, like, what is what has become your editing process with her?
With her,
Yeah, because I
well,
mean, she's so insightful, and she's so,
yeah, my
in
wife
many ways,
is
she's very different than you, but very
but
different.
she's extremely insightful and thoughtful and wise, and I'm blessed to know her, much less be married to her. So she's my, the old expression, my first and best reader, you know? So I don't really share writing with a lot of people, mainly just my wife and my publisher, when I write something. My wife while I'm working on it, and then when I finish
No, you're very
the
secret.
draft.
You're very
Yeah,
secret.
so my publisher, I'll send it to him and see if he likes it, and so or rather Vera, my wife, reads the stuff and gives me her honest opinion. She's not gonna pretty up or kiss my ass at all. If
Yeah,
anything, she's tough, but that's what you want in a first reader.
right.
You want an honest opinion, and I often don't agree with her. She always understands what I'm doing, but I sometimes just don't don't accept her notes the way I'm sure you don't from your agent, whoever you um, share your work with. Sometimes something is just how you want it, and
Right. Right.
I think a lot of the art to being a writer and having an editor, whether it's a friend, a wife, a spouse, an agent, a publisher, an editor at the publishing house, a lot of the art to being a writer is not only, as we said before, rewriting and editing yourself, it's also knowing when to finish, knowing when you've done it enough, when the book is pretty much finished. And also, it's knowing what notes to take and which not to take, In other words, sometimes people have said stuff that, wow, you're right. I got to change that or I got to improve that. Other times it's, yeah, I see where you're coming from. I appreciate it, but nah, I like it the way it is. And maybe they don't get it. Uh, I wanted this book, somebody suggested I have all the wishes in my book because it's such, we've said, a list. It's like a narrative of different wishes. And the reason why I said you could just open the book and dip in anywhere is because you could, it's a collection of little mini essays, little mini memoirs, mini philosophical speculations, fantasies, jokes, things like that. Um, so this one friend suggested that I group all the sexual material together, all the philosophical stuff together, all the political stuff together, but that was a hard no because part of the fun of it was having a flow where, things just keep changing,
Yeah, I
you
agree.
know?
And it's part
So,
of
yeah, I mean, you got
you.
a joke, then you got a very serious memory, then you've got a whimsical fantasy, then you've got a philosophical, speculation, then you've got a political thing. Having, the reader turn the page and not know what's coming next was part of the fun of it.